Even slideshow. Put slideshow.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patil, for introducing me to the audience. And many senior colleagues are there here who are linked here. And all my senior colleagues, I pay my salute. And my senior colleagues, my fellow colleagues, and young professionals, and researchers and scientists who are linked to this program today. And thank you. And I will be privileged and honored to have an interaction with you people on the topic of particularly phytobiotics and their pharmacology, or you can say it is a pharmacology of phytobiotics. As you know that, we know that the word antibiotic, and the antibiotics since 1928, when Alexander Fleming introduced this penicillin, and later so many antibiotics came. Then now it became because of AMR, antimicrobial resistance development, then people are looking for the alternatives. So in that context, it is now we have to, when we are looking for alternatives, we found the plants are the major source for some of the chemical compounds, secondary metabolites or phytochemicals, which will be, we are using since the ages in the name of plant extracts or plant medicines or Ayurveda or Chinese medicine, traditional medicine we are using. So that we are looking for that to get some of the molecules so that we can reduce the burden of the antibiotics so that we can come out of this AMR issue. Because as per the WHO estimates, by 2050, there may be, just because of AMR, it may be another pandemic what they're looking, 10 million tests may be happening. That was their estimate. So in this context, this topic has a relevance, and many research is going on. Much of the research means going on this phytopharmaceutics, especially in combination with some of the antibiotics, so that we can reduce the usage of the AMU, that means antimicrobial usage, whether it is in veterinary sector, especially because animal production is important to have a very good amount of animal protein we have to supply to the growing population. So there we cannot compromise for the nourishment of the growing population. At the same time, we should not compromise on the public health also. So in this context, many synthetic feed additives, whether it is drugs, maybe organic acid, some drugs, and antibiotics, mainly we are using in livestock production to maximize the efficiency of production until the recent times. Okay, then because of this need, animal health industry made many formulations which are containing antibiotics, some of the feed additives for enhancing this production in the animals. If you see the global trend of antimicrobial use in food animals during 2017 to 30, the estimates are there. You can see that here. Next coming 10 years, there will be likely increase of 7.3% of the consumption in tons rather. So almost all the countries which are showing, so there is a increment, the antimicrobial use or AMU use in the animal production is likely to enhance, it is not going to be curtailed. And if you see suppose per kg production of the animal protein, suppose per kg protein of the beef, you can see the 45 milligrams of antimicrobial you are using. At the same time, in case of chicken, 148 milligram per kg of chicken, the antimicrobial usage is there. Then in case of pork, it is a 172 milligram per kg of pork is a estimate in the worldwide. Like that, even aquaculture is another biggest animal protein source, and it is also having a lot of uses It is also in between 170 to 200 milligram per kg for aqua production, especially shrimps. So let us see. So this is what the trend is going on. The IAM use in animal sector. In recent, the projected increase in antimicrobial food animals in the top customers, that means countries mainly. Suppose in India, there will be in coming years, coming 10 years, there will be likely to increase 82.1% more what we are presenting is. At the same time, Mexico, you can find China, means almost all countries, little bit except Germany and Spain, they are curtailing the most of the AMU use. So, but most of the countries, some starting from Argentina to India, from 20 to 80% usage more what we are using at present in coming 10 years. This was the estimate by the Bloomberg recently. Then coming to the Indian context, what are those drugs mainly likely to use in medicine? Medicine means especially food animals. You just find the tetracyclines one group and penicillins are more in use. Means their usage is going to enhance to almost double. You can see the quinolones, tetracyclines, sulfonamides, and macrolides. So that means these 5 group of drugs are going to be very likely to increase in coming 10 years because this is a absolute is in 2000. That means this is a absolute is in the blue, whereas this violet it is a likely production projected use in 2030. That means in coming 10 years. So you can see there is a double increment in the case of penicillins. If you combine this penicillins, cephalosporins, it may be more. That means the most of the drugs we are going to use in animals is major group is beta-lactam antibiotics. And next comes to the tetracyclines, next comes to the quinolones, then macrolides, that is erythromycin. So that means these are the 5 classes of group of drugs which we are using regularly and are likely to be increased in the means in food animals, especially in case of in India. This is the projection is in for the Indian statistics. Okay, these are the circumstances. Under these circumstances, we have to look for the phytobiotics. Means we have to curtail this usage to contain the AMR. So that's the reason why looking for the prebiotics, probiotics, symbiotics, and phytobiotics also. Means the phytochemical compounds are antimicrobial activity possessed plant secondary metabolites, which we can say whether it is phytobiotics or some people say it is a phytogenics also. Phytogenics. This means it is a plant phytogenics or phytobiotics. So ultimately, our aim is to curtail the AMU. So we cannot stop the AMU because it is essential, but we can curtail that uses by replacing them as an alternative way by using this phytobiotics. So that's what the need of phytobiotics came because of there are so many reports like suppose Center for Science and Environment in 2014 they say that 40% samples of poultry meat is having in India is laced with the antibiotics, and European Union ultimately banned from 2016 onwards use of antimicrobial growth promoters. So the replacing these anti-growth promoters ultimately became a big issue or major issue for the people, especially who are working in the veterinary field, whether it is the industry or in the production also. So in that context, phytobiotics, they are alternatives or they can be used along with antibiotics, especially even in therapeutic practice also, to reduce the dosage of the antibiotic when you are using in therapy. So their plants generally produce the number of organic metabolites or number of secondary metabolites. They may be alkaloids, they may be glycosides, they may be saponins, there may be polyphenols. So these plant-derived bioactive compounds, they produce antibacterial. They possess some of the phytochemical antimicrobial activity, and they have wide range. Means they may be active against the yeast, fungi, even bacteria. Even if you see the historically, most plants do supplied many of the medicines. to the humankind. Most of the therapeutic agents came from the plant itself. Even today, 40% of the new drugs, the leads are coming from the plants. So that is the source of the richness of the plants, where we can get number of the bioactive molecules, including antibacterial agents. So some of the examples you can see, even our aspirin, artemisinin is an anti-malarial drug, paclitaxel is an anti-cancer drug, colchicine is anti-rheumatic. Even colchicine now people are using COVID, especially in case of to reduce the cytokine storm. And vinblastine anti-cancer, zatropine, whereas the anti-muscarinic agents. So a galantamine, people are using Alzheimer's disease. Not only antibacterial drugs, number of compounds are coming from the plants. So most of the beneficial effects of phytochemicals are attributed, especially for in case of growth promotion, because of their having antimicrobial and antioxidant properties. The phytochemicals which are having antimicrobial and antioxidant properties, they likely to produce the production, like to enhance the health status of the animal, so that production may be improved. And they also stabilize the intestinal microbiota and reduces the pathogenic, reduces some of the microbial metabolites which may be toxic to the gut. In that way, also they quenches those toxins from the which are produced by the bacteria. So there are two ways. They have a direct antimicrobial property on various pathogenic bacteria, and they improvise by having immunostatus of the animal by having immunostimulation. That's why they are producing the production performance in animals. So, okay, these are the phytobiotics, the importance of the phytobiotics. These phytobiotics, we can say herbs as it is. Then botanicals, fruits, leaves and bark. People are using essential oils. These are mainly lipophilic substances. Distilled oil, many essential oils are used widely, topically. Even they are coming, essential blends are coming as a feed supplements nowadays to improve the animal production. Volatile solvent extracts. These are rather a gross classification. Okay, whatever the herbs or oleoresins or essential oils, what they contain. So these are the active principles. So there may be terpenoids, there may be alkaloids, there may be flavonoids, glycosides, polysaccharides, saponins, phenolics. But again, we can classify them in a very simple way, because terpenoids, phenolics, and flavonoids, basically they are phenolics. So that means polyphenolics, you can say. So polyphenolics is a big way, big group where we can look for those phytochemicals for the antimicrobial activity. So that's the reason why you can just simply make it three: alkaloids, polyphenols, and essential oils. Essential oils contains terpenes, where we can many of the terpenes like thymol, carvacrol, or cinnamol, carvacrol. All these are terpenoid, even thymol. Coming to flavonoids, you can see the flavonoids, polyphenols are there, and tannins also can make it polyphenols, or even some of the saponins. All are polyphenol compounds. So alkaloids you can find berberine, piperine. You know that piperine is where everybody in India, piperine, which is an alkaloid, which is present in the piperonigram. So this is widely used as a bioenhancer in many formulations. So all these phytochemicals grouped together, they may have activity on the bacteria, maybe viruses, even in fungi also. So to have you have a chemical look on the chemistry, most of the quinones and thymoquinones are means these are quinones, and especially in essential oils, terpenes are there, monoterpenes, diterpenes, and sesquiterpenes. So these are the compounds. Generally, they are highly volatile, and they are directly impermeable, means cytoplasmic membrane. They will be making permeability changes and highly lipophilic. So that maybe they may be acting in the gram-negative organism, both gram-negative and gram-positive, by interfering the cell membrane permeability. And some of the phenolic acids like gallic acid also have a anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and in combination with some of the antibiotics may produce very synergistic activity. And tannins, again the tannins, soluble tannins are there, especially in case of Cambretiaceae family of the botanicals you can find, where you can have a number of activities of these tannins. They can bind to the bacterial toxins also. Then coumarins. Coumarins also provide very effective antibacterial activity, especially some of the gram-negative organisms. Then berberin. Berberin is a efflux protein inhibitor. Berberin is present in the Berberia aristata, even Tinospora cordifolia. That's so most of the plants it contains berberin, and it can be cheaper source for especially to inhibit the efflux proteins when bacteria develops some proteins to efflux the antibiotics from inside the cell so that they can survive. Then flavonoids. So flavonoids, quercetin, myricetin, rutin. So these are the widely studied flavonoids for the antibacterial. Then, if you subclassify this in phenolic compound, you just see phenolic acid, benzoic acid, stomach acid. You know the benzoic acid, salicylic acid, antifungal, and they also have some antibacterial activity. Polyphenols, stilbenes. Stilbenes example is in the market resveratrol, and ellagic acid is a pomegranate juice, and flavonols, chalcones. There are so many. If the open ring is there, it is called chalcones. Flavonol, if it is ring is open, it is called as a chalcones. Yes, basically, if you can see the flavonoids are a big group for the to test the antibacterial activity. So that's the reason why focus is mainly people are doing in flavonoids. You just see what is the role of these flavonoids in plant. Ultimately, they may have some physiological role for plant, isn't it? You can see they will give the taste of the fruits and seeds, and they will give the fragrance to the flowers, and your color controller. They act as signal molecules. They are ultraviolet filters from sunshine. They help in seed germination. Even they keep the plants to protect from frost and seed maturation and plant heat acclimatation. Means it is even protecting from the insects. Detoxify or this means this is the role of the flavonoids in the plants. So because of such physiological significance is there for the flavonoids, that's the reason why most of the flavonoids may be helpful, whether it is anti-inflammatory or antibacterial or immunostimulants in humans. Then coming to the essential oils. So essential oils, the main activity is antioxidant, antimicrobial, and insecticide. What are the uses generally we are using in the essential oils? You can see they are feed additives, they are using growth promoters, food additives, flavor and fragrance preservatives, and in the pharmaceutical they are using medicines, and in the cosmetic perfumes and skin products also. So that means they have the wide range of uses apart from the pharmaceutical industry. Okay, if you most of the people they studied very effective, more studies were done on the essential oil targets. What are the targets in this bacteria? Why the essential oils are producing the antibacterial activity? So you just see the effect at cytoplasmic level, leak of metabolites and ions. So cell membrane permeability increases, there will be leak of the, so that bacterial cell will be exposed to the outside the ions are, so that it will be then. Then second, this alteration of membrane fatty acids and proteins. So membrane fatty acid synthesis also, you know that most of these essential oils are steroid saponins. They will be acting on the fatty acid synthesis in the cell membrane of the bacteria. That's why they will produce. Even some of the viruses, viruses also, they will succumb to the this type of phytochemicals. Then there is alteration of the proton motive force, and they increase cell permeability. They may cause coagulation of some of the proteins, denature. So that means they act on the intra-extracellular ATP, means ATP energy transport coupling, it will be affected. So that's the reason why most of the antiparasitic drugs, you just imagine, and even anti-cancer drugs, they require this whenever they enter into the cell, even a cancer cell or a virus, they start induce or ignite ATP synthesis in the cell so that their replication can be started. So that is the reason why when the drugs which can uncouple this ATP synthesis ultimately will be, that is the reason most of the antiparasitic drugs are coming in big way as antiviral agents nowadays for anti-cancer agents, including salicylides, what we are using, oxyclosinide and niclosamide. Even niclosamide, now people are trying for the SARS-CoV-2 also because they are the uncouplers. Similarly, essential oils also uncoupling the ATP and synthesis. So there are a number of steps that is acting. That is one advantage with these phytochemicals. They are acting on the bacteria and different targets. So that's the reason why AMR development towards these phytochemicals is a remote chance, because their target is not one, so that they can modify genetically or whatever they can acquire the properties. Because these essential oil targets or flavonoid targets are many in the bacterial cell. That is the reason why they can be of very use in animal production, whether it is a means growth promoters replacing the antibiotics, or they may be adjunct therapeutic in case of antibiotics we are using. We just say a schematic diagram on flavonoids and their bacterial target. You just see inhibition of the, that's what I am discussing, electron and a transport coupler, bicaline, morin, then DNA gyrase synthesis in quercetin is known as just like your quinolone. Quinolone inhibits a type of topoisomerase, that is DNA gyrase 2, whereas quercetin, like flavonoids, they inhibit the topoisomerase 4, which is especially present in the gram-positive organisms. So it just DNA helicase, they are certain. Then membrane disruption. So that means they are targeting inhibition of nucleic acid synthesis. They may be targeting the uncoupling of the energy transport. They may be membrane disruption. They may be inhibiting the efflux pump like quercetin, protein. Then the biofilm inhibition by some of the, because these are all studied and already researched molecules, and a lot of literature is there on this type of mechanism. Then there may be inhibition of virulence enzymes and many other enzymes, UPase and protease shortage enzymes. They may be inhibiting bacterial toxin inhibitors. They may be fatty acid synthesis. This is the people are looking for the fatty acid synthesis of cell membrane. Now people are focusing on this because there is a phosphoryl which is required for this fatty acid synthesis, just like phosphatidylcholine. You know that acetylcholine is a base. So here, to target phosphatidylcholine is nowadays people are looking for how to target this phosphatidylcholine. But many of the flavonoids or phytochemicals are coming in this way tomorrow, probably to have a good, whether it is a combination therapy or themselves as individual antimicrobial agents. So that means if you can summarize these phytobiotics, either flavonoids or essential oils, the main mechanism of action of this one, they may be interfering with the bacterial cell wall synthesis. They may be disrupting the cell membrane permeability. They may be interfering with the bacterial physiology. They may be inhibiting the efflux pumps. They may modify the action of antibiotics and make bacteria susceptible. Means they are making the bacteria to susceptible for the antibiotic action. And they may be inhibiting the biofilm formation. They may be attenuating the bacterial violence also by targeting the bacterial targets, by quenching those bacterial toxins produced. So that is the reason why they will be helpful. Suppose enteric pathogenic bacteria, when they produce toxins, when you are using this antimicrobial growth promoters as a phytochemicals, they will be quenching those bacterial toxins, so that suppressing any stress on the animal, so that improvising production. So some of the anti-mechanism action of each individual molecules also, which are there in the literature, but I just have given a simple 4 compounds which are well noted. Allicin, which is coming from the Allium sativa, then berberin, Berberia aristata. So there are this berberin, their DNA intercalation. So they are interacting with the cytoplasmic membrane. So whereas carvacrol, it is also interaction with cytoplasmic membrane, cell membrane permeable. So carvacrol, thymol, these are essential acids. They are mainly monoterpenes. So these are ultimately the permeability is changing. So cytoplasmic permeability will be affected. So that's why they are producing their mechanism. That is one of the mechanisms of action, but it is widely studied for these compounds on this mechanism. So now, based on this background, now people are using as a herbs and spices as a phytogenic. So carvacrol, thymol, and so these are the ultimate phytochemicals, whether it is anethol present in the Pimpinella anism, that is anise, cinnamaldehyde in case of cinnamon cassia or cinnamon villanicum, or peppermint, the menthol and carvacrol, and even capsaicin from the chilies, and allyl isocyanates from the horseradish. So allicin and diallyl sulfide from the garlic. So these are the spices and herbs which are targeted nowadays. People are already using in some of the as a in place of the antimicrobial growth promoters. They are replacing these phytochemicals are replacing. So that means a lot of scientific evidence demonstrated that many of the health promoting activities of these phytobiotics are mediated through their ability to enhance the host defense against the microbial infections, and they are having antimicrobial activity. So that means, suppose a combination of multiple phytochemicals may exert synergic effects to reduce the negative consequences of the infection, so that there is no need to use any antibiotics further, especially in case of production. As you know that most of the antibacterial agents, they have already we studied in, so some are acting on the cell wall synthesis like beta-lactam, some are acting on DNA agarase, quinolones, some are acting the RNA elongation, actinomycin, some are acting on DNA-directed RNA polymerase, rifampicin, some are acting protein synthesis 50S fraction, that is a macrolide like erythromycin, chloramphenicol, or lincomycin, and some are acting on protein synthesis of 30S fraction, tetracyclines, all aminoglycosides. So when this mechanism has been affected by the, once the bacteria develops resistance, any one of these mechanisms will be affected. So even the multi-drug resistance or pan-drug resistance, these microorganisms, when combined with the same drugs which you got a resistance along with phytochemicals, they may likely to help the antibiotics to regain the activity by altering the, suppose here you just see the drug resistant non-permeable membrane. This membrane permeability, now it is not allowing the antibacterial drug to go. So, but these phytochemicals may permeability change so that the drug will be enhancing. Drug mobility is enhancing and it's coming into the cell. Like suppose some bacteria developed efflux towards certain tetracyclines or quinolones, but these phytochemicals, they may inhibit this efflux from, so that the drugs will come inside. Like that, many altering mechanisms developed by the bacteria can be altered again by the phytochemicals. The same bacteria which are developed resistance may also get affected by the antibiotics because of the presence of the phytochemicals when you are using a combination. That altered mechanism will be coming back to the normal, so that the antibiotics will be acting on the bacteria again. So this is how how the resistance and phytochemical interference, a schematic visual, so that we can easily understand. So there may be enzyme inhibition. So these are the plant, and they are pure compounds, or it may be a plant extract, whether it may be essential oils. They may be, once they have the presence of the phytochemicals, they are going to act on this. So this is another schematic diagram. How, suppose impaired drug influx, whereas because of This side you can see the phytomedicine, the green. So when there is a impaired, once the phytochemicals are, this impairment is ultimately made possible. Again, the drug is entering. Again, the efflux proteins, the similar way means they are entering. Even the inhibition of DNA RNA synthesis, when plants again phytochemicals came, the same compound is again going and facilitating this antibiotic to have its target. This so that means the phytochemicals, they themselves have the mechanism of action of an antibacterial activity, and they can also alter, they can also enhance the antibacterial activity of the antibiotics on the drug-resistant bacteria. An interesting study was done in 2011. The antibacterial activity of some Indian Ayurvedic preparation. They have taken an Indian Ayurvedic preparation. This is done in Sri Lanka. They have seen that it is humans. They did in humans. Enteric bacterial pathogens. They have developed an antibacterial sensitivity index. When they have seen that Triphala, which is containing it, 3 plants, that it the fruits of the tree, that whether it is a Termilla cebulla, Termilla pellerica, or Embellina officinalis, that is what you common. Very common formula means Ayurvedic formulation people use generally for the well-being of. So when they use this Triphala has given a very good antibiotic sensitivity index along with the antibiotics. And coming to the Haritaki, the another Ayurvedic formulation contains plants, and Dasyamula, that means 10 roots. Then Manjistadi, especially these are the plants mainly used as anti-inflammatory in case of rheumatic pains. And Suksarak and Ajmutari, all these are the Ayurvedic formulations. When they combine, but they produce very Triphala is ultimately it has given a wonderful ASA, antibacterial sensitivity index, ASI rather, along with in the especially against the enteric bacterial pathogens. And you just see when they have studied, they have isolated this resistant to bacterial pathogens, and they have seen this. You just see the oxacillin, the MRA, methyl resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and they did say all are showing for oxacillin 16 microgram per ml. More than 4 microgram per ml is resistant. So it is all enterogenic pathogens. They are highly resistant. And when they used with the Triphala, you just see the MICs come down very drastically. And out of these 5 isolates, 4 isolates, they become a miss. This with oxacillin, this Triphala has become highly synergistic, except one. This one, it has unable to show any. That means whatever the 3 plants are there in Triphala, probably Terminalia cebulla, which is having the tannins and quercetin and other flavonoids, they might have helped, or even vitamin C content, because vitamin C, when you combine with, especially it is very effective on the gram-negative when it is combined with some of the hydrophobic substances that we have seen in our lab itself. Then you just see the gentamicin with Triphala in the same. So it is produced synergy and additive. That means it is actually they did in Ayurvedic means in hospital. So they got a very good result. Then why it is doing? If you see the Triphala, it contains quercetin, gallic acid, citrullic acid. Because all 3 fruits are there. So gallic acid is a polyphenolic acid having a very good antioxidant properties. And quercetin, as you know, it is versatile, a well-studied flavonoid. Means when you say flavonoid, everybody remembers the quercetin, because it's well-studied, well-researched compound, plant compound in the world. So here, they are helping the probiotic bacteria like bifidobacteria and lactobacillus, and they're reducing the population of E. coli and other indigenous species. And at the same time, these lactobacillus, I think they are acting on the cebullinic acid and producing urolithins. which are very good antioxidants and immunostimulants. So that's the reason why they're reducing oxidative stress and inflammation in the stomach by produced by the enteric pathogenic bacteria. So ultimately getting cured. So that this Triphala in combination with some of the antibiotics, where the enteric pathogenic bacteria showed resistance, but still they got cured with the same antibacterial drugs. Then this we did in our lab way back in 2014 among some of our students. So we used quercetin along with the other phyllophenolic acid, suppose gallic acid, anisic acid, and cinnamic acid. So gallic acid, anisic acid, cinnamic acid. This is in vitro studies. This is fish bacterial pathogens we have taken. Aeromonas hydrophila, we have calculated FIC, and Aeromonas salmonellacida and Adventella tardive. And so when you see that, we have seen that we got most of the times additive properties. Means quercetin itself a phytochemical, and other with the polyphenolic acid produces additive activity on these fish bacterial pathogens. Then in another study, the oxytetracycline along with the quercetin, gallic acid, and anisic acid, cinnamic acid, yes, it produced its additive action. Sometimes even in case of Aeromonas salmonellacida, it has produced synergy. Then similarly, synergistic interactions have been, many people have reported with quercetin, with ceftriaxone, levofloxacin, tobramycin, amikacin, gentamicin. You can find the FIC index almost less than 0.5, showing the synergy. So you can see here, you can see with the levofloxacin, you can see with the tobramycin, you can see with the amikacin, you can see with the gentamicin. So if that is really works in vivo, that means we can reduce the dose of the these antibacterial drugs what we are using in the presence of quercetin. Because this quercetin, we can use a nutraceutical. Quercetin, other thing, even as a nutraceutical, you can even if you give much more concentration, it is not going to happen because the oral bioavailability of this quercetin is very this is another constraint in these special phytochemicals. Then recently, the quercetin and oxytetracycline, they studied, you just see this is without any drug, the bacteria stage. When they use quercetin, when oxytetracycline, there is a blubbing of the cell membrane, a cell wall. Then when you see the quercetin, so there is a little bit. So when the combination, you see this is the scanning electron microscope. You just see when the quercetin and oxytetracycline, it is completely making the cell wall or cell membrane is completely dissolved. Whereas individually they are not going in. You just see this is a tetracycline actually. This is tetracycline. It is not having almost see the control. There is no drug is there. Whereas in case of quercetin, there is it started some cell membrane blubbing. But when the combination is just see, most of the times, so they have seen that tetracycline X plus pump also, even though they are not significant, but the activity is there. They have seen this. There is a down regulation is also there efflux proteins, even though it is non-significant. There is a down regulation of the efflux protein pumps in this study. So similarly, you just see I think now flavonoids. You can see the literature with so many antibiotics getting this synergy. Many people work on this. Whether it is a luteolin, bicalin, or genistein, or galangin, and morin, so many compounds they work. So this is about how they produce. So the another important in the actual therapy, you just see the phytochemicals as alternatives to antibiotics against major pathogens involved in bovine respiratory disease and bovine mastitis. This is in Canada. This is in Canada. So they are working on this, and they could find this in the model very effective phytochemicals. They are rather without any antibiotics. Then coming to you just see the antiparasitic and antibacterial functionality of essential oils, an alternate approach in aquaculture. In aquaculture also, we just see. So this is a recent paper 2021. Then in poultry and swine production, they are also regularly now it is used. So that means now the phytochemicals are slowly replacing as an anti in animal production, especially in poultry and swine and aquaculture. Okay, then what we can go ahead with this encouraging results with the phytochemicals? Yes, we can continue our work and getting the more and more phytochemicals. Then how to do it? Because many young researchers are there, maybe interested or curious to work on this field. There may be a random approach, simply a random approach. You can find here and there some of the plants are active. Let us work on that. Or you can see ethnopharmacology literature. You can find what are the plants really used and in trial and method, what are the documentation is there. You just try to see the documents and get the things. Then nowadays, now computational and mechanistic studies you can do with the available phytomolecules and see what are the targets of the bacterial proteins where you can find some may be hitting a docking score more, so that you can means you can in silico you can select and in vitro you can screen. Based on that you can go for further. So then based on once you get encouraging results, so that means now we can reduce our research time period by applying this type of methodologies. Okay, now we have a number of databases. So database natural products. What are the natural products available? You just see the Indian medicinal plants, phytochemistry and therapeutics. So this is a website. It contains largest phytochemical list in the Indian medicinal plants. Then Metlin Metabolics. This is another database. And cardiovascular. Okay, this is a cardiovascular herbal database. Is there some of the drug discovery? So that means in ethnobot there Duke's phytochemical and ethnobotanical database is also there. And traditional Chinese medicine, Taiwan and mesh. So these also we can think. And traditional or Indian medicinal plants also is there. So where we can check the database and see what are the phytochemicals have some importance, so that we can work on those phytochemicals. Then this is another means a lot of database nowadays available, so that here we can see the therapeutic target database or bacterial enzyme target. You can those targets and Indian medicinal phytochemicals, so that you can post database medicinal plants and phytochemicals, database and bacterial enzymes and proteins, where you can combine together and look for the better models for working whether in vitro or in vivo. So this is one interesting MAPS database, that is medicinal and aromatic plant search. So this is they have taken 500 medicinal plants and listed 2,200 phytochemicals. It is a free database. So from here we can think of doing some work. Okay, out of all these plants, okay, number of plants are there. This family, Cambritaceae family, the work is done. 42% of this Cambritaceae family plants are possessing the antibacterial. We can think of what are the Cambritaceae family plants which are available traditionally in India, so that we can see that botanical database. So next comes gingiberries. Okay, Cucurbitaceae is also there, and Lariaceae, Lamiaceae, Myristaceae. So that means this in this way we can find out what are those botanical family or plants where we can get this lead molecules, or so that we can work on that. So in recently 561 phytochemicals were studied in silico with biochemical targets of bacteria. That is 2020 paper. This one. The best docking they observed with phenolics, flavonoids, later followed by the alkaloids and steroidal saponins. Just in the same prediction, we can do it. So the most notable target for this E. coli peptide deformulase. That is a notable target for this phenolics. And DNA ligase in case of Staphylococcus aureus by flavonoids. So they have found good correlation with this in silico studies, so that we can think of those such databases, getting the phytochemicals and making the in silico search and ultimately finalizing those compounds for the in vitro assays. Once you get a promising results, you can think of to further process. So for the last 5 years, if you see the database, 2016, 2020, where PubMed or Medline, there are 11,689 articles from 149 countries on the antibacterial activity plants. So again here, polyphenols and terpenes are the most active phytochemicals they study, either alone or together or the plant extract processing these polyphenols and terpenes. And the common mechanism of action for all these studies they could find is plasma membrane disruption. The most common. Then again, when you have gone for the combination with the antibiotics, they have seen that phytochemicals with the beta-lactam antibiotics are most studied papers for the past 5 years in this from the 149 countries, what I told you. So that means antibacterial phytochemicals 2016, 2021, if you can summarize, essential oils, alkaloids, and polyphenols, more active. And their common mechanism is permeability increases, so that potentiation alteration, so that we'll get a combination synergy. So these are some mechanistic studies people are did. These are this is the piperine, this is the berberine. Means some of the examples I am showing. These are the alkaloids. Then these are the organosulfurs. These are the organosulfurs. This is allicin. And this is the especially polyphenolics. All you can see this hydroxyl. All are polyphenolics. That is the flavonoids basically. Then these are some of the fumarine derivatives. Even xanthones also. These are the xanthones. Then this is about the steroidal saponins, or you can say these are the steroidal saponins. Even some of this is one of the benzoic acid rather. So that means we have now the alkaloids, polyphenols, terpenes present in the essential oils. You can target. Again in the polyphenols, flavonoids you can target. So this is how when you are screening, this is a pictorial completion of any phytochemical or plant extract you're studying. So you will take the parts of then you can make extraction, then you can make a purify if you have the this one, or semi-purify, or you can make a structural elucidation, then you go for bioassay, then up to that you can have a screening, then there further you can process. So this is another way you can say, means suppose we can do a MIC and discuss diffusion or different synergy and how you can get a synergy, or time kill studies and checkerboard assays you can study, so that you can get a synergistic effect of any combination, if at all it is there. So for simple, any lab you can do it, zone of inhibition, you can see the individual, and when you combine together, what is zone of clearance, and bactericidal effect and bacterial static effect, that most of the microbiology people they do it, all this type of, it means microbiology and pharmacology will be a very good combination to work on this field. Okay, when you are going for a synergism, if synergy exists, you can see there when dose B and dose A means compound A, compound B. If their MIC is coming this below the green line, it will be synergy. When it is coming above this one, that will be antagonist. And it's coming only in central, it is you can say additive or no interference, because each individual can produce their own action. You can see, just suppose in case of, if you see the microplate studies, you can say drug B and drug A. So this is 2 MIC 2 microgram per ml. You can serially you can come down. You can serially come down. You just see this MIC you are getting from this. If you can make a straight line like this. So whatever the below concentration, you just see if you can make a curve like this, it is a synergy. These are the concentration. Similarly, suppose tetracycline and cinnamon essential oil, you just say a dotted line, these concentrations, which if you can get MIC here, it is a synergy. And when it is additive, means it is almost coming in the center. You just see. When above this, it is a, you can, by usual, you can say, usually you can assess whether these compounds, when combination is having a synergy or antagonism. So one recent, one student did with the xanthone and the cashew shell and liquid on his Staphylococcus aureus. You just see, this is the xanthone, this is the cashew nut shell. You just see the growth is there. Means if you can, this is the central layer, because these are the, so you just see there is no growth. Growth is there means, so this is ultimately showing the means most of the cashew nut concentration or xanthone coming below line, you are getting the MIC, so that we can say this cashew nut shell liquid is having a xanthone with a synergy. Okay, sir, so much research has been done in that way. Is there really formulations are available? Only this phytochem? Yes, they are available in some extent. You just see the berberine, it is a soft gel, 1000 milligrams. In case of burdock, that is Arkham lopa. This is a especially bacteria, there is capsule. It is a 475. Chamomile, clove is also, and Canberry and eucalyptus, garlic. Garlic is available nowadays. You can find. So that means yes, there are certain phytochemicals available in therapeutic purpose, even in humans also. The capsules are soft gel formulated. This they may be as the nutraceuticals also you can use, or in exactly condition also one can use along with the other antibiotics. Sole use probably may not be getting a result. So okay, now I can summarize all what way it is. First, I have seen what is the importance of the phytobiotics. Antimicrobial resistance is a global presence and warrants a look for alternatives for antibiotics in medicinal plants. Then phytobiotics are plant-derived substances that shows antibacterial, antioxidant, and immunomodulatory activity. Phytobiotics are slowly replacing the antibiotics in animal production and are being used along with prebiotics and probiotics. Some of the phytobiotics alone or in combination with known antibiotics also produce synergy in therapy and reduce the antibiotic doses. Flavonoids and phenolics dominate over other phytochemicals in producing antibacterial activity. Mechanistic screening will reduce the time and helps researcher in finding molecules fast for testing antimicrobial activity. So this is why pictorial, you can see that traditional knowledge you can take, and the secondary metabolites, they can be gone directly for the development of new antibiotics, or they may be containing the antimicrobial resistance already in the antibiotics, and the databases, research tools, we can take the database from there. Again, we can circulate all those activities. This whatever you studied, it will go to the database. From the database again, somebody will be taking the cue and lead from there. So this is from plant secondary metabolites, which are phytochemicals, are ultimately helping us to look for the alternatives for the antibiotics existing. But there are constraints. It's not all we always there is when there is a rose there. If you want to pluck the rose, yes, there are some means difficulties are there. Means we may get injured by having the rose. So that means present
Yes, ready.
Uh,
Sure, sir.
I think sirs, this one got disconnected. Maybe sir might be trying for again reconnecting this one presentation.
Giant, sir, giant.
Yeah.
So the main delivery system of this phytochemicals in the body, that is another important, and quality control. These are the bottlenecks. That means first we can suppose they have seen recently in essential oils they have been very good results in mastitis, but they could find that it's only less than 2% solution. Means when you add 2% of the solution or emulsions only, you can think of. Otherwise, they themselves can damage and cause damage to the memory epithelial cells when you give a topical or intramemory. So that is the reason why we have bioavailability and delivery systems like now, since nano delivery, nano emulsions, nano carriers are came. I think the drug deliveries, if you can improve, and bioavailability you can improve. Once the bioavailability can improve, these phytochemicals definitely can be really helpful to contain the antimicrobial resistance. And more than that, to have a quality control is another bottleneck in this one. So that means the phytochemicals, yes, we have a very good rosy picture in this field. Even though bottlenecks are there, we can come up with the solutions, and probably, so once upon a time, we veterinary field, especially veterinarians, they look for the human medicines for leads, whereas probably it is now reverse. Probably the phytochemicals research as much really was done by the veterinarians in the world. If you see even if you have a database, you can look for it. They are looking, means most of the veterinary people are working in the veterinary science. They are looking for the alternatives for the antibacterial growth promoter. At the same time, they are looking for these phytochemicals to reduce the therapeutically the doses of the antibacterial agents, so that we can come up with a solution for the antimicrobial resistance. So with this, thank you for all you and for paying attention, even though some constraints and limitations were there in the presentation myself. I think most of the times I presented. If any way, we can have an interaction with the people. If any queries are there. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am thanking all I am thank you all the organizers, Nivedi and SS Patil, Director Nivedi, Dr. Shom Garu, for inviting me for this lecture. And means it is I feel honored to have interaction with people who are working in this field. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. We are honored for having invited you and enlightening us about the phytobiotics in the scene of antimicrobial resistance. Sir, our institute, for the audience purpose information, I am telling you, our institute is located very near to Institute of Ayurveda Medicine, Transdisciplinary University, Jarkhavande Kaval. And there are collaborations with that Ayurveda Institute also, as far as the mastitis formulations are concerned. Tanvas is having a very good ethno-veterinary medicine in that field. They have a collaboration with the Transdisciplinary University Ayurveda Medicine, and they have come up with formulations for topical applications of the mastitis cases. Thank you very much, sir. Especially the sir has been telling about Triphala. That is the uses of Triphala in case of this as a antimicrobial and antioxidant. With this, I thank you very much, sir. Sir, if there are any one or two suggestions or clarifications or any interactions, if they are there, please directly you can speak with sir, or you can place your query in the chat box. One we have received from Dr. Bhadra for Rao sir. What is the probability of phytobiotics? It causes toxicity. phytochemicals also contain different properties and toxic effect. Continued with that, phytobiotics pharmacology of how they are acting on the receptors and their pharmacokinetics. Dr. Bhadra, if he's there, you can ask directly, Dr. Bhadra.
Okay, let me, because now the in between the connection is gone. Okay, what is the question?
Sir, in the chat box, you can also see what is the
Okay.
probability of phytobiotics. It causes toxicity or something. It is there. Discontinue is there. Phytochemicals also contain different properties and toxic effect. It is not complete sentence. And the phytobiotics pharmacology of how they act on the receptors and their pharmacokinetics. Something like that, sir. Sentence is not so this one. They are asking what is that phytobiotics and their relation to the receptors, because antibiotics they have their own.
Connection.
Matte. Rao sir,
Oh, sir.
Dr. Bhadra is there.
Raise your hand and tell raise
Yeah, please raise your hands or unmute yourself and you can directly talk to Rao sir.
connection.
So please, again your connection is lost, sir. Rao sir. Huh?
Voice ಇದೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ನಮಗೆ.
I think sir's voice box. Huh? Try ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ.
ಬಂದ್ರಿ ಈಗ.
ಬಂದ್ರಾ?
ಅಷ್ಟು ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಅಪ್ಪ.
Sir.
Okay.
Yeah, sir, that chat box, there is a query.
Okay, here it is not reflecting. You tell me what is the.
Yeah, in the gist, I am this one, sir, because sentence is incomplete. They are asking what is the relation between the phytobiotics and receptors? The way antibiotics has specific receptors in the cells. So in that context, how the receptors are there for the phytobiotics also? Disconnected. Again, they got disconnected.
Okay, I got it. Actually, okay, she is expressing that how this mechanism of action.
Yes,
what
yes.
specifically it is there for the phytochemicals. Okay.
Okay.
Then I will say I already have given, because some of the compounds that is well elucidated, because if you can do in silico studies also, most of the polyphenolics which are having the hydroxyl group, they have the binding, especially towards the bacterial. There are 5 or 6 bacterial targets what they already studied. I already told that peptidyl deformulase and some of the enzymes, they are DNA helicase. They are the targets for these phytochemicals, and efflux protein is already well studied. A specific receptor, unlike the antibiotics which are already did, like cell wall synthesis, cell membrane permeability, and protein synthesis. But here also, these phytochemicals have the multiple action. Number one, they don't have the one target. They have 2-3 targets. So that is the reason why, once you know the mechanism of this, because even the it may because of that wide chemical activity and as a secondary metabolite of the plants, they used to.
May I now request our director VR Som sir. Hello. Yeah, please.
So I can readily tell that. Thank you very much, Srinivas Rao sir. I myself have personally learned so much. I'm sure all the participants also must have learned equally.
Sir, wait, please wait, sir. Sir is disconnected, maybe.
Is it?
Yes,
Yeah, sir.
Rao sir got disconnected.
So Rao sir's internet connection is not good, sir.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Frequently it is going.
So yeah, Dr. Patil, you can conclude. You convey my regards and profuse thanks for the enlightening us, and we'll get back to sir one time and again with other issues.
Yes, sir.
On my behalf, so
Sure.
I have something else to attend right now. I'm
Please.
sorry, I take leave.
Thank you, sir, please. ಈ vote of thanks ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಹಾ? ಹಾ, ಬಂದ್ರಾ? Kindly share feedback link.
ಅದು chat box ಅಲ್ಲಿ- ಇದು if any questions, so participants, if they have any questions, kindly put into the chat box. We are providing Rao sir's number. You can directly contact with him. So we are getting frequent disruption in the internet from Rao sir's this one connection. So we regret for this one, and we will provide the number of the Rao sir number, mobile number. So it is already available in the chat box. Kindly refer to that one and you can ask him directly.
Okay, you are welcome. If you can give my number and the mail ID so that I can, whatever I can.
Yeah, yes, sir. Rao sir, actually, this is frequently it's coming and going that connection. So
Yes, yes, yes.
so we have, sir, some questions like currently what is the percentage phytobiotic is in usage in, sir, in the veterinary sector?
Yes, it is there, but especially in case of poultry, it is there.
Okay, sir.
Exactly, I don't have the statistics, but
Okay.
poultry it is there. Actually in Western countries, in pork they are doing.
Okay.
Especially in case of the even Scandinavian countries, they are doing especially growth promoters. They are using
Okay.
different formulations are there. I have the actually list also. Okay, next time whenever I come, I can give the list also for them.
Sir, so what is the entrepreneurship opportunities like for startups and entrepreneurs, sir, in the phytobiotics area, sir? If there is-
Definitely. Yes, entrepreneurship in yes, it is promising. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I can say promising.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful seminar and informative seminar. Because in the era of antimicrobial resistance, so a lot of things are happening now. Even our honorable Prime Minister also concentrating on Ayurvedic preparation and alternative medicine. In this way, that phytobiotics will, in the way like it has lot of scope in the for entrepreneurs also, for the researchers also. So,
Yes, yes.
for providing this in wonderful information and complete comprehensive logistics and everything from on behalf of ICR Nivedi, profusely thank you, sir, for providing this lecture. And so we hope in future also you will guide us in conducting many more such type of sessions, sir.
So I'm always ready. I to have an interaction with people.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, one and all.
Okay, okay.
So we'll come to the concluding this one, and we'll finish this webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೈಮ್ ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ